Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and we need to talk about what was just one of the greatest Olympic basketball games, one of the greatest basketball games that I've ever watched. It was unbelievable. The game I'm referring to was the United States versus Serbia. They just played in the semifinals of the Olympics. On the other side of the bracket, France and Germany played earlier today, and I'll talk about that game towards the end of the video. Also, like I said in all my Olympic videos, there will not be any highlights because if I put a single one in this video, the Olympic Committee will basically shut down my YouTube channel. So just let you know, there probably will be no highlights, but let's talk about this absolutely insane game. Now, coming into this, the United States were like 15.5, 16-point favorites. Everybody was expecting them to win. Even Serbia's head coach, before the game, I think it was yesterday, said that this U.S. team was the greatest international basketball squad ever assembled. And when you take a look at the talent on this roster, they certainly have an argument. When you talk about like the all-time talent, the young rising stars on this team, some of the most talented players in the NBA right in the midst of their prime, it's kind of ridiculous. And up until this point, they haven't really been tested too much throughout the early going of the Olympics. They've had some somewhat close games, or at least closer part of the game before eventually the U.S. inevitably pulls away. But this one was completely different because rather than the U.S. being kind of close and then punching the opposing team in the mouth, Serbia punched first, and they punched hard over and over and over again. They were up 8 points after the first quarter. They led by 11 in the second quarter. They led by 13 going into the fourth. They were up double digits for a majority of this game. I think at one point they were up like 17 or something like that. They were up quite a bit. It was getting a little bit scary, and it always felt like, okay, the U.S. at some point, they'll find a way to come back. They'll come back. They'll come back. Except for the first 30 minutes, the comeback was nowhere to be found. They would bring it back within single digits every now and again, but Serbia just kept them at arm's length, and it was a lot of guys. Of course, Jokic was crazy, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists, but he wasn't like the most efficient scoring out there. He was 0 of 6 from deep, 7 of 17 from the field, did play 38 out of the 40 minutes. Bogdanovic was big with 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He was talking trash to LeBron James and basically anybody that would listen. Philip Petrosev, Dobrich, again, as always, if I mispronounce a name, please let me know. Vramovic, he was going insane, had 4 threes. That was the big thing. Serbia could have missed from 3. They finished 15 of 39, like they cooled off a lot towards the end of the game, but for those first 3 quarters, they were shooting like 50% or roughly around that, and the United States was having a really hard time buying threes in bulk, especially having a hard time scoring inside the paint. They were turning the ball over a bunch. They were just really sloppy, late on rotations, leaving guys open. Just was not the brand of basketball you want to see from the team that's supposed to be the best in the world, the squad that you expect to dominate. And this big deficit also came despite the fact that Steph Curry was going nuclear from the moment the game began. And all throughout the Olympics, there's been a lot of conversations about, okay, when is the Steph Curry game going to be? When is he going to start going crazy? Because Steph has not been great so far through the Olympics. Now, the U.S. has been dominant and he's been pretty efficient, but we haven't had like that big Steph Curry explosion that you would typically expect from a guy like him on the international stage. Well, it came today with, like I said, 17 points in the first quarter alone, and that was 17 out of the U.S.'s 23, so almost every point came by Steph Curry. I believe he had 5 threes in that quarter. He was looking unstoppable, but not much else was happening. Anthony Edwards, who has been the leading scorer, was struggling. LeBron was scoring when he could, but it wasn't like this big time explosion from him. Kevin Durant picked up 2 earlier in the game fouls, so he didn't play a ton of minutes in this one, finished with only 24. Things were just snowballing out of control, but eventually the United States stabilized a little bit. And I've got to give credit to Joel Embiid. Embiid has been getting just destroyed on my Twitter timeline left and right throughout these Olympic games. People saying, oh, he should be benched, he shouldn't play. There was the one game where he didn't play, and people were like, good, keep him benched. People don't like Joel Embiid, but in this game, maybe the only reason the U.S. had a chance to come back in the first place was because of Joel. He finished this game with 19 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 8 of 11 from the floor, 2 of 3 from deep, and was playing some fantastic defense on Jokic. And when LeBron was guarding Jokic a lot down the stretch, the reason they could do that is because Embiid was there on the back line and was just shutting basically everything down whenever someone went towards the rim. So as much hate as people gave Joel Embiid, he deserves all his flowers now and then some, because without him, the U.S. never even has a chance for the insane comeback we witnessed in the fourth quarter that was spearheaded by 3 guys in their mid to late 30s who are still out there, some of the best in the world, anomalies, top 15, 20 players of all time. LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. Down the stretch of the game, LeBron really started getting into his bag. He was being aggressive, driving, bringing a lot of pressure downhill, kicking out the shooters, getting the defense in rotation, the stuff you typically expect from Bron, and really, he just started to set the stage for everybody. He was attacking in transition as well, which is something the U.S. wasn't really doing in the first half. They weren't able to get out and run, which is where they're at their strongest because they're just that type of team. They finally started playing with some pace, and suddenly the deficit was dropping and dropping and dropping, and over the last minute 32 minutes, I believe, however long it was, the final 13 points were all scored by the three guys I mentioned: Bron, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. Steph Curry continued to do his thing this entire game, finished with 36 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal, 12 of 19 shooting, 9 of 14 from 3, which feels like it should be close to an Olympic record. I didn't check before this video, but it feels like that's got to be close to the most threes anybody's ever hit in an Olympic game. One of the best performances I've ever seen on the international stage, and it came exactly when they needed it. You've also got Kevin Durant, who finishes with just 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist, but specifically late, he came alive. He was big throughout the final stretch of this game, including a really highly contested mid-range pull-up jumper that is typical KD fashion, where he's just taller than everybody and you just can't block the shot. You can get a contest, but Kevin Durant likely isn't going to see it because he's a 7-footer out there. That shot was massive down the stretch as well. And then, like I said, LeBron James attacking in transition, finishing, playmaking with a triple-double, 16 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, and a steal. The first player to ever have multiple triple-doubles in the history of the Olympics. And despite it seeming like it was over at one point, the United States do end up surviving 95-91. It was completely insane. I really wish I could show you highlights, do a play-by-play breakdown of the final few possessions. That fourth quarter in particular is one of the most insane fourth quarters of hoops I've ever watched. I was at the Snapback Sports office. If you didn't know, I'm part of a Snapback Sports talent over there. Go check out the Snapback Sports channels. I'll try to make sure to remember to leave the YouTube channel down below. I'm going to be doing some content with them a lot once the NBA season comes around on YouTube, and I've been doing a lot with them on TikTok and Instagram, so definitely make sure to go check them out. It's Snapback Sports everywhere, but I was at the office. We were going crazy, losing our minds. This is one I'm going to remember because when you get the chance to see some of the best to ever do it, specifically like with LeBron and Steph Curry, what they did down the stretch of this game with KD being involved as well, even if it was in a bit of a lighter regard than maybe those two guys, just seeing these legends of the game continue at this age to put the nation on their back, it's special stuff. And we probably won't ever get to see Steph Curry and LeBron James team up in the NBA. I doubt it happens. Maybe Steph somehow becomes a Laker. I don't know. Maybe it happens, but those glimpses we get, whether it's in all-star games or here in the Olympics and international play, it's incredibly special. They're two of the best to ever do it, in my opinion. LeBron James is, at worst, a top 2 player to ever play the game. Steph is, at worst, top 12. I don't really know. I don't do all-time lists. But these are two players that have defined a generation. Kevin Durant as well. Those three guys have really defined a generation of hoops over the past couple of decades. It's just unbelievable to still see them playing at this level and helping the United States pull out an improbable win, one that seemed like it was really going to slip away in what would have been one of the bigger upsets in the history of international hoops. I do want to give Serbia a huge shout out because they fought relentlessly, even though Jokic didn't play his best game. They just came up a little bit short because the United States, sure, they were down, but they've got the clear talent advantage, and they were just barely able to squeak this one out. Other guys in the U.S. that played well, like D-Book had 6 points, 2 of 4 shooting. He was solid. I already mentioned Joel Embiid really deserves his flowers as well, in addition to the big 3 that I talked about. Anthony Davis only had 1 shot, 3 fouls, 4 points. Like most of the bench guys didn't really play in this game. No minutes for Jason Tatum in this one, which I'm sure people are going to be talking about, especially on NBA Twitter. But in reality, what we should be focusing on was the greatness we witnessed between those 3 guys I talked about, Joel Embiid, and the fact that the United States pulled this one out. Now going to be ending up facing France in the gold medal game. Like I mentioned, France and Germany did end up playing. And that game was also really good. Like both these games were amazing, down to the wire affairs. Germany started off up big in the first quarter, but France battled back, held Germany just 8 points in the second. Then France was the team that took the big lead, but Germany brought it all the way back to within a couple of points. They even got a stop. Franz Wagner got a rebound with about 15 seconds left or something along those lines. It might have been a little more like 20 something, but he just fell out of bounds. That was a 2-point game when that happened. France ends up hitting some free throws, and Germany is not able to go ahead and come back from being down 4 points. France moves on. The home country is in the gold medal game. It's going to be Victor Wembanyama, Rudy Gobert, who didn't play much again in this game, continuing to deal with that finger injury, it seems. But France going up against the United States, the favorite, up against the home country. Victor Wembanyama going up against LeBron James, the GOAT in the eyes of some people versus maybe the new era GOAT, the guy that's going to eventually try to take that title. Embiid going up against the country that he decided not to play for in favor of Team USA, the country that's been booing him relentlessly. It's got a lot of narratives involved. I'm really excited in terms of the play. Yabusele, again, was ridiculous for France, 17 points before ending up fouling out 7 of 11 shooting with 7 boards. Vic wasn't even a crazy game for Wemby, 11.7 rebounds, 4 assists, did have 3 blocks, and the defense as a whole is going to be insane from Victor Wembanyama relentlessly. You had 10 points from Lesor, who was great against Canada. Cornier had 16 points, 7 rebounds. He was great as usual. 2 of 2 for Frank Ntilikina, including a 3 late in this game that was big. France just goes ahead and gets it done. They find ways to win. Fournier didn't have that insane game like he had against Canada, but 2 of 7 shooting, including a big 3 down the stretch. And it was enough to go ahead and help France get the win. For Germany, Franz Wagner, as usual, is pretty big. 10 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, including a massive 3 that kept this game close, gave Germany life. Late in it, they just didn't have enough in the end. Daniel Theis had 8 points and 11 rebounds, almost a double-double. Obst had 8 points. You had 18 from Dennis Schroder, but it was on a pretty inefficient 6 of 18. Did a 4 dimes. They're just not able to really crack this France defense too much. They shot below 41%, less than 30% from 3, also less than 70% from the line. They really could have used some of those free throws back, but in the end, France ends up moving on, and I'm really excited for France versus USA. Of course, Team USA are going to be the favorites. Again, people are arguing whether or not this may be the best team in the history of international hoops. Would love to know your opinion down below in the comments, what you thought about these games, specifically that Team USA Serbia one, because that one was ridiculous. Who do you think wins in the gold medal game? Who do you think wins in the bronze medal game as well? Because it's Germany versus Serbia in that one. That should be a really fun contest as well. I appreciate y'all watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I will be covering, of course, the final couple games of the Olympics and a lot of other content coming this summer that you don't want to miss out on. But for the moment, appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.